All right. We now turn to that NBA play-in tournament that everyone won't stop talking about. As the regular season has just 2 days remaining, all the Eastern Conference participants are set, though we might have some seeding to sort out. In the Western Conference, 8 through 10 are in the field, while the 7 seed Lakers they do have a chance to move up to the sixth spot. And Sunday will give us a pre-play-in game between Memphis and Golden State. All right, Drink, still a few things left to fall into place, but we do have a pretty good idea of what the tournament will look like. Who do you see moving from the play-in tournament to the playoffs?
Well, I mean, the first thing that sticks out to me, and I'm gonna start with the West is like you said, we still got to find out what the verdict is on the 6 and 7 seed. Listen, for my money, I'm gonna say I see the Lakers. Let's say it stays the way it is. The Lakers still the 7 seed. They only got to win one game. You know, they could beat any of these three teams. I think with no problem, to be honest with you. So I definitely see the Lakers moving on. Now that 8 seed could be interesting because, as you mentioned, we do get a preview of Golden State versus Memphis on Sunday. So I think that's where the intrigue is. But I don't. I look at these four teams. I'm like, Lakers shouldn't have no problem. They'll be in the field, and then we'll see. I think the winner of Sunday's game probably is in the driver's seat to get into the playoffs, whether that's Memphis or Golden State. So that game will be very important. Um, Over to the East, I look at this. So Boston next two games, Minnesota and New York. I think Boston will go 1-1. I think Minnesota they packed it in. You know, they kind of letting the rookie like get his shine on so he can get rookie of the year and Anthony Edwards and like they didn't pack it in. Like no, they worry more about social injustice than anything over there. So I think Minnesota they done. But they do have to play the Knicks, and I think that's an L. I think the Knicks will beat Boston. No Jalen Brown. We know what the Knicks do on the defense end of the ball. I think that's probably going to be a loss. Then I look at Charlotte. They have the Knicks and Washington. I think they go 0-2 in those games. I think Charlotte lose both of those games. They fall out of contention. And Indiana got the Lakers and Toronto. I think they lose to the Lakers, but they beat Toronto. But I don't know if that's going to be enough to prepare them to the 8 seed. The interesting thing is Washington. Washington will beat the Hornets, but they only got one game. So I don't know like how all that works as far as them having one game left and
I
then
think
they got to win.
I think the highest Washington can go up is a 9 seed, so they're going to be it's going to be one to go home early for them.
Okay, so um, with that said, I mean, I'm feeling confident that Boston because they're gonna go 1-1, so they're gonna do enough to probably hang on to the 8 seed, and then that 7 seed. I think Charlotte going 0-2. I really do. So it looked like maybe I'm gonna say Boston, and if Washington can't go no further than 9, and 9 ain't gonna cut it. Like I don't know.
You don't think Washington can win 2 games to get in?
I do. Okay. I think Boston and Washington will be your two teams that go in. I feel like Boston got enough talent to do something in this play-in tournament, and I think Washington got enough talent. I like Charlotte, I like Indiana, but I can't take them serious. Like when my thing is this: when I look at games, I look at the stars. This is the NBA, and the NBA is all about stars. And Boston got a Tatum, Charlotte got a LaMelo, Indiana got a I don't know who Indiana got, and Washington got Westbrook and Bill. I gotta think Westbrook and Bill will be able to get it done over whoever Indiana got over a rookie and LaMelo. Now Boston, Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart and company, they probably still got enough to win. So yeah, I think Boston is your 7 seed, Washington is your 8 seed in the East, and then for the West, if it stays the way it is, I'm looking at the Lakers is your 7 seed, and then the winner of Sunday's game between Golden State and Memphis is probably your 8 seed.
Yeah, I think I do. I think I agree both ways. God, we're talking about Terry Stotts' job security. You've been on Brad Stevens a lot this year. You know, I get the Jaylen Brown thing. I think that helped. That's going to take some of the heat off, but Boston being in this play-in scenario, they'll be the 7th seed, so they'll only need to win one game, and they'll have 2 tries to get into the field. But if you lose both of those games and you wind up out the playoffs, then that could be a little dangerous. I don't think that happens. I think Boston will beat Charlotte or Indiana, whoever falls in the 8th seed, and then LaMelo Ball is back. But you know, all these teams, Boston's lost 4 in a row, Charlotte's lost 3 in a row, Indiana's just been, you know, they've been struggling for a while. I think it's Boston and Washington as well. Boston's got the best. They got the best player. They got Jaylen Brown, and then Russell Westbrook, and if Bradley Beal's in the lineup, I think Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal are good enough to win you 2 games against an Indiana team that they don't have a lot of firepower. And Charlotte, like, I know LaMelo Ball's back, but I mean it is Charlotte, so I'm just not ready to fully buy into them yet. So I think you'll see Boston and Washington in the playoffs, and that's crazy because weeks ago Washington ain't looked like much all year. They've been a lot better recently, but early on in the season they didn't look like they could do anything. Right. So I do have to say it's funny because Chicago, they was actually like trying at the trade deadline, and I see it didn't matter. In the West, man, ain't it?
He just slid Chicago in there real quick.
Yeah, how's your Vucevic thing going? Not well, I see. And Daniel Tice, yeah, it's going well. The West play-in tournament, which is more interesting than the rest of the field. Right. We just talked about how we don't believe in Phoenix and Portland, right? And we can throw Utah in there as well. Yeah, I gotta believe the Lakers get through, even though they appear to be a bit wounded. I gotta believe LeBron's gonna get off the mat, take the mask off, go in there, you know, pop in for a game and say, all right, we're in there. Now I go back and sit down for a few days. And then, you know, the great thing about this is the 8-9, their last game of the regular season is Sunday. So, I mean, the playoffs for them and the play-in start for them Sunday. So they're almost in like a best of 3 scenario. San Antonio's locked into 10. Nobody's worried about San Antonio, I don't think. So I'm not. So regardless, whoever wins that game is going to be in a great position because whoever wins will only need to win one time to get in. That they could, you know, they'll have a chance against the Lakers. Even if they don't beat the Lakers, they'll be right back against the same team. So I think it's more important for Memphis. I think it's more important for Memphis to win Sunday because I can see Golden State beating San Antonio and coming back and beating Memphis again rather than Memphis doing that. I just think, you know, I think the youth of Memphis, it's going to be hard for them to overcome that. Whereas we know, like, Golden State can flop around and lose Sunday, and then Steph Curry can go, you know, red hot like no other, right, and, you know, beat San Antonio and beat Memphis. I do want to say Golden State's been real hot here recently, but Memphis has stayed right with them. I just think I don't want to undersell what Memphis has done, like, you know, waiting for Jaren Jackson to get back in the line. And now that I believe Jaren Jackson's back now, like, what Memphis has done the last 2 years in a Western Conference, which we talk about the East has the more interesting storylines here, but the West still has the more quality of depth. And Memphis has been right there while I wasn't going to mention it, but like New Orleans.
Yeah, buddy.
New Orleans, Memphis and New Orleans, those are the teams we're looking at because of where Zion gets drafted and where Ja Morant gets drafted. And that's just right. Memphis is in there to the very end. And by the way, New Orleans got the more well-known coach too, like Stan Van Gundy and Taylor Jenkins. You know which one, you know. I can see Stan Van Gundy before I see Taylor Jenkins. So
right.
Regardless of how it shakes out for Memphis, I think they deserve a lot of credit for how they played the last 2 years, and they continue to move in the right direction. But in the end, I think you get Boston and Washington in the East. They'll make the field of 8, and then the Lakers and Warriors, they'll both we'll both see them in the playoffs.